Welcome back to the deep dive. I have to be honest with you right out of the gate. The stack of research you sent over for today, it reads like a thriller, but it hits a little too close to home regarding how we view reputation, social media, and well, the lies we tell ourselves. We are unpacking the narrative of Nihad. And let me tell you, this is not just a story about a girl. It is a story about a complete and total fall from grace and the very strange, very rocky road to redemption.
It creates quite a visceral reaction, doesn't it? On the surface, it looks like a romance or a family drama, but when you really peel back the layers, you're looking at class conflict, the psychology of enabling versus parenting, and the harsh reality of fair weather friends. It's a dense narrative and, frankly, a brutal dissection of class. It asks what happens when you strip away the money, the makeup, and the last name. What is actually left underneath?
That is the question of the hour. Because we are starting at the absolute peak. We have Nihad. She is 19 years old. But she isn't just rich in the way you might think of a suburban, well-to-do family. She is stratospheric rich. She is a student at Merriam-Webster American University.
Right, and context is everything here. For listeners who aren't familiar with the educational landscape in this region, Merriam-Webster American University isn't just a school, it is a status symbol. In this specific social ecosystem, going there signals that your parents aren't just wealthy, they are insulating you. You aren't mixing with the general population who might be grinding it out at a public institution like ABU Zaria. You are in a curated, air-conditioned luxury bubble.
She's living the life. Luxury car, expensive the status. She's a person who heard the word no very often in life. She is floating above the problems of the real world.
Exactly. She rests the pinnacle of sheltered privilege. But then, the unthinkable happens. The catalyst for this entire saga is a video scandal. A video of Nihad in her undergarments is leaked online. Again, we need to pause on the context. In the conservative society she lives in, this isn't just embarrassing like it might be in Los Angeles or London. It is social suicide.
It's the nightmare scenario.
Yes.
And the source material describes the immediate aftermath so vividly. You have Nihad locked in her room, weeping, refusing to come out. But it's the phone that really paints the picture for me. It's blowing up. 50-plus missed calls, messages asking, is that you? Did you see this? It's that flood of panic where you realize you cannot delete the internet.
It's the modern version of being put in the town square stocks. And outside that locked door, the family is in meltdown mode. The reaction of the family is critical here. You have the parents, Abba and Mumi, who are devastated, but then you have the grandmother, Ina. Her reaction is incredibly harsh. She's not comforting Nihad. She's saying things like, we should shame you before you bring us shame.
That line sent a chill down my spine. We should shame you before you bring us shame. It implies that the family reputation is a tangible asset, like a house or a car, and Nihad just set fire to it.
Precisely. It highlights how, in these high-stakes social circles, the family reputation often takes precedence over the individual's mental health. Ina isn't worried about Nihad's soul, she's worried about the family brand.
That is brutal. And that brings us to the verdict. This is where the story takes a sharp left turn. I think most people would expect the parents to maybe take her phone away or maybe pull her out of school for a semester. Just hide her until the news cycle changes.
And that was the original trajectory. Abba, her father, had plans for her. She was supposed to go abroad to the UK for her studies. But in his anger, he cancels all of that. He goes nuclear. He views this event as the ultimate disappointment. He decides that the root of the problem is that she has too much freedom and too much pride. So he devises a punishment that is designed to break that pride completely. He decides to marry her off immediately.
And not just to anyone. This isn't an arranged marriage to a senator's son to hush things up and merge empires. He decides to marry her to the help. Specifically, the family's newly hired driver, a man known as Ibrahim.
It's a decision born out of pure wrath. He wants to humble her. But there is a technical detail in the notes that I think is the most devastating part of this, and it concerns the sadaki, or the dowry.
I saw that term sadaki. 50,000 naira. Break that down for us. What does that mean in this context?
So in Islamic marriages in this region, the groom pays the sadaki to the bride's family. It's a symbol of his capability to provide, his seriousness. It's his stake in the game. It legitimizes the union. It shows respect.
Okay, so usually the guy pays. It's his responsibility.
Right. But in this case, Abba, the father, pays the dowry himself. He takes 50,000 naira from his own pocket, gives it to the driver, and says, essentially, give this back to me to marry my daughter.
Well, wait, so he is basically paying the driver to take her.
He is subsidizing her disposal. He is removing the driver's agency and Nihad's value in one single brutal stroke. He is saying, you are worth so little to me right now that I have to pay a servant to take you off my hands. It turns the marriage into an act of charity rather than a union. It is psychologically devastating.
That is, I mean, that's not just punishment. That's psychological warfare. You wake up a princess, and by dinner time, you're being told you're marrying the guy who drives the car, and your dad is paying him to do it. The humiliation is the point.
It is the point. And the family dynamic here is so interesting. You have the brother, Farouk, who is actually trying to be the voice of reason. He represents the modern perspective. He's saying, she's 19, she's emotional, this is a mistake. He sees that she needs help, not exile, but he gets overruled completely.
Farouk seems like the only one with his head screwed on straight at this point. But then you have Uma, the stepmother. And this is where the Machiavellian elements come in. On the surface, she seems concerned, but looking at the notes, she's actually subtly encouraging this punishment.
She is pouring gasoline on the fire while pretending to hold a fire extinguisher. She's the one suggesting, oh, maybe marry her to a villager to hide the shame. She wants Nihad gone. She wants her exiled to a village far away so she never has to look at her again. When Abba chooses the driver, it's actually, subconsciously perhaps, a way to keep Nihad close, even if it is in disgrace. But Uma, she just wanted her erased.
We are going to have to do a whole segment on Uma later because that woman is playing a very long, very dark game. But let's focus on this transfer of power. The verdict is passed. Nihad gets married to Ibrahim, who we later learn is actually named Khalil, and she is moved out of the main mansion and into the boys' quarters, the bungalow.
The physical transition is so important to visualize. We aren't talking about her moving to a different neighborhood. She's moved to the boys' quarters or the BQ.
For listeners who might not know the architecture of these estates, paint the picture of the BQ versus the main house.
In these large elite estates, the main house is a palace. Marble floors, central cooling, multiple living rooms. It's opulence. The boys' quarters are usually a detached bungalow at the back of the property near the gate. It's where the staff lives, the drivers, the cooks, the gatekeepers. It's functional, sparse, often cramped. It is geographically only 50 meters away from the main house, but socially, it is a different continent.
So she can probably see her old bedroom window from her new home.
Precisely. She has to look at her lost paradise every single day. The source material describes her crying herself to sleep, terrified of the stranger she's now tethered to. But what's fascinating is how she handles it. He doesn't accept it. She is in total denial. To her, he is still just the driver. She treats him with absolute disdain.
The disdain is palpable. There are these specific incidents that just make you cringe. There's the key incident. She demands the car keys because she wants to drive herself to school. She basically tells him, give me the keys, I'm driving.
It's a struggle for autonomy. Driving represents control. By taking the keys, she wants to prove she doesn't need him. She wants to reestablish the old power dynamic. And Khalil, this driver, refuses. He says, no, I have my orders from your father.
And she loses it. She accuses him of being rude and reports him to her parents. She runs back to the main house to tattle on her husband as if he's a disobedient employee. The driver is being rude to me.
And the parents have to look at her and say, he's not your driver, he's your husband.
Hmm.
That reality check must have stung. She cannot compute that this man, who is socially beneath her, is exerting authority over her. But the peak of this conflict, the absolute low point for her behavior, is the water incident.
Oh, the water incident. This felt like the moment she truly hit rock bottom in terms of behavior.
This is the moment where you really see how far she has to go. She finds him near a fruit cellar on the street. It's hot, it's public, she wants something, he ignores her rude command, and she literally pours a bucket of water on him in public.
It is a shocking display of entitlement. She dehumanizes him completely. It's a power play in front of an audience.
It is an attempt to wash away his dignity. She wants to humiliate him so deeply that he remembers his place. But what she fails to realize is that the audience, the crowd, doesn't see a queen disciplining a subject. They see a spoiled, out-of-control girl abusing a working man. She loses the crowd completely.
But this leads to a pivotal moment with Mummy, her biological mother. Mummy sees this happen. And Mummy, who has been portrayed as strict and distant, walks right up and slaps Nihad publicly.
That slap is a crucial narrative beat. It establishes Mumi's moral code. She might be distant, she might be angry about the video, but she has a zero-tolerance policy for dehumanizing people. It doesn't matter that Nihad is her daughter and Khalil is the driver. You do not treat a human being like that. It forces Nihad to apologize, establishing that her old rules do not apply anymore.
It's the first crack in Nihad's worldview that Mumi is the villain.
Mm.
And it sets up this really interesting mystery around the husband, Khalil. Because to Nihad and the family, he's just Ibrahim from the village, recommended by the old driver, a total nobody. But the listener starts to realize pretty quickly that something doesn't add up with this guy.
Well, the clues are dropped very subtly. First, his reaction to the water. He doesn't scream, he doesn't cower, just takes it. He gives her the silent treatment.
Which probably drives her crazier than if he yelled. His silence is a form of power.
Precisely. It's
Yeah.
dignified. And then there's his lifestyle in the boys' quarters. The source mentions he cleans it himself. He refuses to live in squalor. He creates a disciplined, neat space. This isn't the behavior of someone who doesn't know better. It's the behavior of someone with high standards. He is educated. He claims to have a diploma, but he speaks and acts with a level of sophistication that contradicts his backstory.
He's playing a role. He's the enigmatic husband. He's watching all this drama unfold, watching his wife throw tantrums, and he's just waiting. It creates this incredible tension. You're rooting for him because he's the underdog, but you also know he's hiding something huge.
And that secret identity is the ticking time bomb of the story. But before we get to the explosion of that secret, we have to talk about the environment that created Nihad. We have to talk about the tale of two mothers.
Yes, let's unpack this. Because early on, you think Uma the stepmom is the hero. She's the cool mom. She covers for Nihad when she sneaks out. She lets her drive the nice cars. She encourages her to hang out with her friends. Nihad loves her. She thinks Uma's the only one who understands her.
And Mumi, the biological mother, is the villain in Nihad's eyes. She's strict, she says no, she supports the driver over her own daughter. Nihad feels completely unloved by her. But this is a classic narrative bait and switch.
It really is.
Yeah.
Because as the deep dive goes on, we start to see the cracks. We find out that Uma manipulated the family years ago to take custody of Nihad when she was just a toddler. She basically stole her from Mumi.
It was a long con, a strategy running for over a decade. Uma didn't want to raise Nihad to be successful. She wanted to sabotage her. By indulging Nihad's worst impulses, the partying, the vanity, the bad friends, she was actively engineering Nihad's failure.
A weaponized indulgence. That is a terrifying concept, giving someone enough rope to hang themselves.
It's accurate, though. Uma has her own daughter, Nihal. She wants Nihal to be the successful one, the respected one. So how do you eliminate the competition? You rot it from the inside. You let Nihad drive the fast cars, date the wrong boys, skip class. You build her ego so high that it has to collapse. You make her feel invincible so that her eventual fall is that much greater.
So she was fattening the calf for the slaughter. That is Shakespearean levels of villainy.
Brutal, but yes. And the ultimate betrayal. The source material indicates that Uma didn't just know about the video scandal, she orchestrated it. She used Nihad's so-called friends to drug her and record her.
Wait, hold on. The stepmother set up the viral video.
That is what the source material indicates. It was a setup to ruin Nihad's reputation permanently, ensuring that Uma's biological daughter, Nihal, would shine by comparison. It explains why Uma was so quick to suggest the marriage to the villager. She wanted Nihad out of the way, permanently humbled, and removed from the inheritance or social standing of the family.
That is chilling. And when Nihad finally realizes this, the heartbreak. There's a scene where she confronts Mumi, her biological mother, and asks, "Why did you hand me over to her?"
Mm-hmm.
It's this moment of totalization that the person she thought was actually the one trying to save her with discipline.
It's a hard difference between it was nice because she asked everything. She gave the freedom to self. Me was kind because she tried to install boundaries. Nihad had to lose everything to understand that value.
And speaking of people she had to lose, let's talk about the friends, the clique. Husna, Naf, Zully. These girls were her ride or dies, or so she thought.
They are the enablers. They are the ones who encourage the reckless behavior. But the moment the scandal breaks, the abandonment is immediate. They offer shallow comfort, but they don't stand by her. And of course, they were the mechanism Uma used. The betrayal is intimate. It comes from inside the house and from inside her social circle.
But the biggest betrayal aside from the stepmom, has to be the boyfriend, Aliyu. Nihad thought she was dating the son of General Jakamshi. She thought she was dating royalty. She was so proud of this guy. This was her status symbol.
Aliyu represents the allure of the fake life Nihad was living. He projected wealth and status. He had the clothes, the swagger, the right last name, or so she thought. But the moment the video leaks, he blocks her. He vanishes. He claims he can't be associated with her.
Which is devastating enough, but then we find out he wasn't even who he said he was.
Identity theft. It turns out Aliyu and his friend Abdulhi were faking their identities. They were not the sons of ministers or generals. They were frauds preying on girls who were chasing status.
So she ruined her life for a guy who was a fake, while treating her actual husband, who she thought was a nobody-like trash, when he was actually the real deal.
The irony is delicious, isn't it? Let's unmask Khalil, because while Nihad is mourning the loss of her general's son boyfriend, she's unknowingly living with the actual general's son.
The clues start piling up.
Yeah.
Khalil has a luxury car hidden away. He has a house in Abuja. When they travel, Nihad is shocked because suddenly Ibrahim, the driver, knows his way around high-end neighborhoods. He's comfortable in spaces that a village driver should find intimidating.
And the name connection. Nihad thought Aliyu was the son of General Jakamshi, but Khalil is the biological son of General Abubakar Jakamshi. He is the heir to the fortune she thought she was chasing.
Why on earth was a billionaire heir working as a driver in Kano? That is the question. I mean, I get the undercover boss appeal, but why hide as a driver?
It's a classic trope, but effective. He was fleeing a forced marriage of his own. His father, the general, wanted him to marry his cousin, Nadia. Khalil wanted agency. He wanted to prove he could survive on his own terms without his father's influence opening every door. So he went undercover. He hid in Nihad's family house, taking the most invisible job possible, a driver.
It's a perfect hiding spot. A rich man's driver. You see everything, but nobody sees you. Until, of course, the daughter of the house pours water on you and you end up married to her.
It complicates his plans, certainly, but it also reveals his character. He didn't marry her for her money. He has more than she does. He married her because, in that moment of crisis, he couldn't say no to her father, and perhaps he saw a girl who needed saving from herself.
So how does the truth finally come out? Because this reveal has to be explosive.
It is. The brother, Farouk, is the first to find out. He gets summoned to General Jakamshi's house in Abuja. The visual backdrop changes here. We go from the dusty streets of Kano to the polished, high-security zones of Abuja. Farouk walks in, probably thinking he's in trouble. And there is Ibrahim, the driver, sitting there as Khalil, the general's son.
Farouk's jaw must have hit the floor. And then Khalil admits it.
He waves off the soldiers. That power move waving off soldiers is the first concrete proof Farouk has that Ibrahim is a fiction. Khalil tells him, "This is my father's house." Note the humility, even in the reveal. He doesn't say, "This is my house." He acknowledges the source of the power.
And once the general finds out his son is married, and to Nihad, of all people, he demands to verify it. This leads to the convoy scene. The general arrives at Nihad's family home with a full military escort.
This is the moment where the grandmother, Inna, loses her mind. Complete panic. She goes from mocking the driver to claiming they didn't know. She tries to rewrite history instantly. We didn't know he was the general's son. It exposes her hypocrisy perfectly. She only respects the uniform and the bank account, not the man.
And Abba, the father who thought he was punishing his daughter by marrying her to a peasant.
It's cognitive dissonance. Abba has to reconcile two things: his anger at Nihad and his sudden elevation in status. He realizes he accidentally made the smartest political alliance of his life. It saves face for the family. Suddenly, the scandal of the video matters less because, hey, she's married to General Jakamshi's son. Money washes away a lot of sins in this society.
It really does. The narrative shifts from Nihad, the disgraced girl, to Nihad, the general's daughter-in-law.
Oh.
Even the neighbors who were gossiping probably changed their tune instantly.
Absolutely. Oh, we always knew she was special. It was a love match all along. The revisionist history would be instant.
So the truth is out. Khalil is rich. He's powerful. He's the real deal. How does this shift the dynamic between him and Nihad? Because she's been treating him like dirt.
This is where the redemption arc completes itself. Importantly, the source suggests Nihad starts to change before she knows he is rich. She starts to respect him as a man, not just a status symbol. She stops fighting him. She starts accepting her reality. The realization of his wealth is just the cherry on top, but the foundation was laid in the humble bungalow.
She learns to respect the person, not the wallet.
Exactly. She apologizes to Mumi, she rebuilds that relationship, she transitions from a spoiled brat to a woman who understands value, and Khalil, for his part, uses his true power to protect her.
He takes her away from the toxic environment. He shields her from the scandal. And we get some justice, too.
Sweet justice. Uma's plots are exposed. She faces the wrath of the family. Her attempt to elevate her own daughter backfired spectacularly. She becomes a pariah in her own home. Her influence is dead.
She becomes a ghost in the machine. And Abdullahi, the guy who leaked the video.
He gets arrested and beaten by soldiers. That is the privilege of being the general's daughter-in-law coming into play. It's a bit of vigilante justice, but in the context of the story, it feels earned. The fakes get punished. The authentic, even if they are hiding, get rewarded.
And there's a lovely twist regarding the cousin Nadia. Remember, Khalil ran away to avoid marrying her.
Right, the arranged marriage. Well, it turns out Nadia's mother is the sister of Mummy, Nihad's mother. That makes Nihad and Nadia cousins.
Small world.
Very small. And out of respect for that family connection, the general decides not to force the second wife on Khalil. In polygamous cultures, there is often a taboo or courtesy against making close cousins rivals in the same house. So the general cancels the arranged marriage with Nadia. Nihad ends up being the sole wife, cementing her domestic stability. They have a child, Orion, and the story ends on a note of peace and restoration.
It's a blessing in disguise narrative on steroids.
It is. If the video hadn't leaked, Nihad might have continued down her destructive path. She might have ended up with the fake Aliyu, living a life of lies. The tragedy stripped her of her ego, and the punishment gave her a protector who loved her when she had nothing.
It really makes you question the idea of bad luck.
Yeah.
Sometimes the worst thing that happens to you is the thing that saves you.
And it asks the listener to evaluate who is truly in their corner.
Right.
Is it the Uma who feeds your ego and lets you drive off a cliff? Or is it the mummy who slaps you to wake you up and stops you from driving?
That is the question of the day. Who is holding the wheel in your life? We'll leave you with that thought. Thanks for diving deep with us.
Well, until next time.
Wait, before we go, I have to ask about the key incident again. It just sticks with me. She demanded the keys. It's such a specific power play. I drive, you sit.
It is symbolic. Driving is autonomy. It's control. By taking the keys, she wanted to prove she didn't need him. By refusing the keys, he was saying, you are not in charge of your own destiny right now. It's a struggle for the steering wheel of her life, literally and metaphorically.
And in the end, she lets him drive.
She gets in the passenger seat, not out of weakness, but out of trust. And that is the arc, from fighting for the wheel to trusting the driver.
And finding out the driver owns the road.
Exactly.
All right, now we're really done. Thanks, everyone.
Take care.
I can't let go of the Aliyu fake out, though. It is just so representative of social media culture, the curated feed versus reality.
It is the Instagram versus reality meme come to life. Nihad fell for the filter. She fell for the rented cars and the borrowed clothes. She didn't look at the man. She looked at the props.
And Khalil had no props. He just had himself.
And that was the hardest thing for her to see. We are trained to look at the props. It takes a trauma to make us look at the person.
Beep. Okay, seriously. Signing off now.